Now, what would a Trump rally be without one of his most popular campaign catchphrases?
We don't need advice from the Washington swamp. We need to drain the swamp.
Oh, vintage Trump all night long. So let's talk about this a little bit. Let me bring in my muscle-flexing party panel from the Fox News specialist. She is the co-host and a correspondent on The Greg Gutfeld Show. Kat Timpf is here, along with a partner at Free Think Media and host of the Fifth Column podcast. Download and listen to it today. Kmele Foster, Kmele 2020, Perfect Vision, and Republican strategist and author of GOP GPS, Evan Siegfried. Welcome, panel.
Hey.
Hey, boys and girls, on a beautiful live Thursday night. So, Evan, I will start with you. Some of the economic messages that he was relaying to this eager crowd in West Virginia. You know, obviously this was an important state for him, and this was one of the tent poles, one of the battleground states, even though he won by 42 points. How do you think that economic message that resonated with the crowd resonates with the rest of the country?
Well, we're seeing the rest of the country. The economy is booming at this point. Wall Street's doing very well. There are people still on Main Street who feel it's not moving as much because wages have remained stagnant. But the president tonight talked about how he's created gotten close to over a million new jobs created since the election, and how there are many different things. He hit every single sweet spot. He talked about how he's trying to bring manufacturing jobs back here. This was red meat for Republicans and people who want jobs here in the United States, and it only helps him.
All right, were there any themes of liberty that resonated with your joy bell?
You know, rhetorically, perhaps, but substance matters, and all of the talk of jobs. I mean, let's be honest here. Since the election, he's been talking about jobs that he helped create. That is obscene. The truth of the matter is that presidents oftentimes claim credit for things that they don't deserve credit for.
Okay, so the fact that
jobs are being created in the economy, it's probably not him.
I mean, every administration does that. So,
sure.
But what he's saying is the Dow just hit 22,000.
This is true. The stock market
the
is
stock market's going in the right direction. Unemployment is going in the right direction.
Absolutely.
So, does President Obama take credit for those things, or are these things independent of politics altogether?
I think in many ways they are often independent of politics, and it's not a matter of who is sort of at the wheel. What is important, though, is what is likely to happen with the policies that he's articulating, from the immigration policy to various other things. And I am not so certain that most of those things are consistent with the sort of thing that is actually going to get you greater economic growth. What he is pursuing is a policy of prosperity through protectionism, and I don't think that is a fundamentally sound path.
No, and that's a really good point. And, you know, it's funny because Republicans get bashed for being so fractured right now. But one of the things that I like is Jeff Flake comes out and writes a critique of Washington and the administration and basically echoes what Kmele just said.
Yeah. Well, the two-party system is a joke, and the fact that you're not a conservative if you don't follow whatever President Trump says, which, by the way, is changing all the time. His views on things are changing all the time. And
but that was Flake's point, with this protectionism and this level of populism, although it feels really good in the short term.
There's people
so does eating an entire chocolate cake, but I won't be able to wear white pants next week.
Right, but there's people that don't care. If you watch that rally, you see the people, they are so I have never been as excited as any of those people that I've seen. I'm convinced. You know that they people that only wear Trump clothes and like they only like identify as like I support Trump. That is a very, very, very powerful thing to have behind you. But it's not really, he's not really conservative or liberal. He's just Trump. It's just like the party of Trump. So I mean, I kind of like to see the two-party system crumbling a little bit and seeing people sort of criticize things because he is switching his mind at all sorts.
And he is sort of blowing it up from the inside out. And some of his most pointed criticisms go toward Republicans. You know, he's got congressional Republicans in his rhetorical crosshairs.
Listen, when Obamacare repeal and replace failed last week, the White House started to telegraph that they're going to be going after Republicans and they want to be a truly independent White House. They view anybody who's in Washington, and you could hear it in the president's rhetoric tonight, as somehow a threat, as part of the swamp, and they're the ones who are trying to stop him and stop the agenda. And I think that there are a lot of Republicans who are worried that he's going to turn his base, which is part of the GOP base, against them, and there could be real problems come 2018.
All right, the panel is returning later. That's not a problem for you. That is the solution. First up, however, President Trump tonight saying the Russia investigation is a big waste of time. But according to a report today, Special Counsel Robert Mueller will use a grand jury to help with the probe. Judge Andrew Napolitano joins me with a legal explanation and lots of reaction next. Stay here. been an enlightening conversation that Americans across the land will continue to have, especially those who are glued to the screen right now for the best hour of their day, as they're watching the president and some of his underlings and perhaps family members getting ready to disembark from Air Force One. He is returning, of course, from that West Virginia rally, and earlier tonight, the president doubled down on his promise to eradicate the drug gangs he claims are poisoning the country. Watch.
Just last week, I visited Long Island, where MS-13 has brought terrible violence to a once peaceful and beautiful neighborhood right where I grew up. We are liberating American communities from these vicious, violent gangs. One by one, we are finding the drug dealers, the gang members, the predators, thieves, criminals, and killers, and we are throwing them out of our country. And once they are gone, we will not let them back in.
That is absolutely right. No question we should be getting murderous drug gangs off the streets. But the war on drugs, well, that's a different story altogether. The party panel here to weigh in: Katherine Timpf, Kmele Foster, and Evan Siegfried. So, Kat, obviously, some of the murderous bastards who align themselves with MS-13, some of those gang members, they're horrible, and they need not be taking life and squashing freedom in this country. But a lot of the supply side prohibitionists don't deal with the demand issue in this country. Even if you build a wall and you squash the gangs, you're still going to have a demand for some of these substances.
I am anti-murderous people in gangs murdering.
You heard it right here.
I take a strict
There's
stance
the president of the United
that,
States.
Okay? I don't,
on the left of your screen.
Very, very bold of me, I know.
He's waving, he's saying, hi, Kat. Hi, Kmele.
Oh, hi. Very, very, very nice. Very, very nice. Very, very nice.
Down the steps.
But, you know, if drugs weren't illegal, then we wouldn't have to have gangs here selling them because they'd be legal. We've already had people in Mexico, gangs in Mexico and drug cartels in Mexico, they have all this marijuana they don't have anything to do with because we've legalized marijuana in certain
So what did they switch to?
Exactly.
Switch to heroin.
Exactly.
That's exactly what they did.
Well,
no, seriously, like now they're selling heroin and pumping cities full of it because they can't make any money off of weed anymore.
Sure. Yeah. Look, here's the thing. There are ideas that people have that seem like good ideas, right? Drugs are dangerous. We should totally make them illegal. That will make certain that no one can get drugs. Alcohol can be dangerous. We actually tried alcohol prohibition.
I know people who've died of alcohol poisoning. It's incredibly tragic.
It is not dissimilar from other things that seems like a good idea to keep immigrants out. Then all of the Americans can get the jobs. Only immigrants come here and they create jobs as well.
That's a very interesting parallel because prohibition doesn't work, whether it's with people or substances.
Precisely.
It creates black markets. It creates illegal immigration. Last word, Evan.
Well, I think that it is actually not a bad thing to talk about legalizing marijuana, and look how Colorado's performing in the budget surplus it has just from the tax on it. But when we start talking about harder drugs, I draw the line there. When you have, I don't think there's going to be any corporation who's really going to say, let's sell cocaine. And
they do. They just call it Adderall.
Yeah, exactly. I think that we should legalize all the drugs.
Yeah.
I want to make that clear that I was saying legalize all of them.
Yeah, no, it's then that way you would know what's in it.
Exactly.
So you wouldn't have fentanyl and you wouldn't have the kind of overdoses because people don't know what's in heroin.
Right, and I don't do heroin not because it's illegal, just because I don't do heroin.
Exactly.
There's not people that are like, if only it were legal, I'm going to get me some of that.
You know what? I don't eat dairy either. That's legal.
You're missing out.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people say about a lot of things, but I don't do drugs because people say I'm missing out. Evan Siegfried, Kmele Foster, Kat Timpf, thank you so much for being a part of this glorious evening. Look what a handsome panel. And beautiful. Coming up earlier today, President Trump announced some service changes to the VA and said veterans will now be able to make choices and compare and pick from competing health facilities. What a concept.